So I'm really excited to be speaking at this event. Definitely a little nervous when I saw that I was after Brandon Brown, but then I looked at the entire agenda and it's full of rock stars, so I'm like, you know what? It's gonna be a great 3 days of amazing speakers, so I hope everyone is ready for that. So I wanted to start off with this quote from Lucille Ball. If you want something done, give it to a busy person. The more things you do, the more you can do. So I look back at the times in my life where I was really busy, and then other times where I was working full-time, but a lot of you know what full-time really is, and you're working actually like 3, maybe 4 days a week. When you add up the hours, it's still 20 hours a week, so it's still part-time, but in your mind, it's full-time. But the times in my life when I was in school and I had so much on my plate, or this past year when I had a baby, I was able to get so much more done because my time was so limited. So I just made myself productive in the times when I actually needed to work. So everyone here has busy lives, right? Everyone has different things going on. Some of you are students, some of you have families, some of you have other jobs on top of selling Cutco. Some of you are at 20K in sales, some are at like 5 million. Whatever it is, learning to balance your lifestyle now is gonna help you balance life in the future, no matter what comes your way. Now, I'm not saying life won't be stress-free, because that's just not possible, but it's gonna make life a lot less stressful when you can balance everything. So I want to show some pictures of Sloan. So definitely this past year, having her gave time management and exhaustion a whole new meaning. A 13-hour day at the booth is nothing compared to having a newborn at home up all night. But it just makes it so much more worth it that way. So scheduling everything is really important. Organization is really key. So for me, and this might be different for you, whatever day works best, but I find that Sundays are a really good day to kind of sit down and make sure your week is planned ahead. And a quick tip that I'll give you for this event, because you're gonna hear from so many speakers and you're gonna get so many nuggets, have a separate sheet of paper and just write to-do list on top. So you're gonna get so much information and so many things that you wanna do right away, but they're gonna get lost in your notes. So have that one piece of paper that you set aside, and when there's something that you wanna accomplish in the next 2 to 3 weeks, write it on that list. And that way, after the event, on your plane ride home, or just set some time in the next few days, this upcoming weekend, where you'll be able to actually start implementing a plan to get some of those things done on your to-do list. And in general in life, you wanna make sure that you have a planner, or some of you use a Google Calendar, whatever works for you is what you wanna use. Just make sure that you're using something. For me personally, I love having a planner where I can actually write things down. I could see it on paper. That just works better for me. But whatever works for you is what you wanna use. So as Dave said, I work 2 days a week. So either I'm doing appointments or I have an event on the weekends. So when I'm doing appointments, I like to do window scheduling. A lot of you have probably heard this term before. Basically what that is, you schedule your appointments every 60 to 90 minutes. So for me, I'll tell Mr. Jones, hey, I can come by between 2 and 2:30, or would later at between 5 and 5:30 work for you? And I just explain to them, you know, it's just depending on how my day goes, when my appointment beforehand finishes up. What I really like about that, it doesn't make me rush through my appointments. So if, you know, you have those customers that like to talk a lot, and then you're like, oh no, my next appointment is in 5 minutes and I have a 20-minute drive. You don't have to worry about that, because if you tell them the window scheduling, you still have that time. What's also nice is those days where your appointments are so easy and you're just closing real quickly, and you can finish up your day even early. So that's nice too, so you don't have to wait around at the end of the day. So create a daily plan. And I do this even for the days I'm not working. So obviously working 2 days a week, there's 5 days left in my schedule. And I get a lot done in those 5 days. So prioritize what's the most important. There's so many things that need to get done in one day. So what you wanna do is make a list and go through what needs to be done immediately. So number everything in the order of importance. So if it's the most important, put a number 1 and kind of go from there. If it could wait till the next day or the next week, have that at a bigger number. For example, if you have to get an oil change and you're like 500 miles over, that should probably be a 1 or a 2. Another important thing, set a time limit to each task. So my appointments, I'll schedule them every 60 to 90 minutes. When I'm doing phone time, I schedule an hour. If I'm planning out my monthly email, I'll do an hour. So it's important to assign times, because what happens is if you don't assign a time, you can kind of eat into your time for other things, and then that's what happens when you get to the end of the day and you're like, I still have half of my to-do list to do. And when you commit to something, put it in your schedule immediately. Set reminders in your phone. I always set it for conference calls. I'll do it 15 minutes before. Make sure your phone's not on silent, too. That's an important thing. If you have deadlines that you have, set them for the day before. Reminders definitely saved me this last year having mom brain. If any of you are parents, you definitely understand what I mean. But it's basically pure exhaustion. So if I didn't set my reminders, I wouldn't get anything done. And plan out your entire spring. At this point, we're obviously in the second month of the campaign. You should have February, March, and April already planned. If you don't, it's not too late. That's why we're here. But make sure that you plan out everything. So I have what days I'm doing service calls, what events I'm working, what trips I'm taking. That's another thing, obviously, everyone loves about the job. You can travel as much as you want, right? You have the flexibility to do that. And when you do things, target to be early. So I was always on time, and that was just something that I took pride in. I always planned to be 15 minutes early for everything. Once I had a baby, that went out the window, so I had a plan to be an hour early. So whatever it is, you guys know yourselves. Tell yourself, if you're always running late and you always seem to be half an hour late, tell yourself you need to be there 30 minutes early, right? So in your mind, if you have to be there at 3, just tell yourself 2:30. So that way you're there. And when you're doing different things throughout the day, focus on what you're doing. Don't try to multitask. Right, so if you have one thing that you're doing on the computer, close everything else on the computer so you don't get distracted. And delegate. This is a big thing that I'm still working on. But if there are things that can be done by other people, delegate it to them. For example, with work, postcards, delegate it to someone, pay someone to do it for you. If you don't like making phone calls, pay someone to do it for you. Learn to say no. This is something I wasn't good at because I wanted to just make everyone happy. Right? Don't be a people pleaser all the time. If you know you can't do it and it's not going to fit in your schedule, just tell them you can't do it. It's better to tell them no than to not deliver something. So protect your time and eliminate time wasters. What I mean by that is, when you open your email constantly throughout the day, and you're like, oh, I'll get back to that email, and you never do, and then you forget about the email. So set something in your schedule. It could be once a day, it could be twice a day, whatever works for you, for when you're going to check email, and when you have at least 30 minutes to kind of go through emails, depending how many you get. I end up getting a ton each day, so twice a day works for me. So make sure that you have enough time to actually go through the emails and respond. Don't get caught up on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Those all waste your time all day long. And cut things off when you need to. So the number one reason why things get overrun is because you don't cut things off when you need to. So don't be afraid to cut a phone call short. When you start a call that might go long, just tell the person, like, hey, I'm driving for the next 15 minutes so we can talk till then. Because I know once I get somewhere, I'm like, all right, I got to go. Sorry. This is really important also when you have, I used to do this all the time, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in the room that did this, when you had phone time scheduled for that night, and you would start something, let's say your phone time's gonna start at 6:30, so you start something at like 6 o'clock, then you get really into it, and you're like, you know the time, you kind of like, oh, I just wanna finish this, and before you know it, it's like 8:30 at night, and you're like, oh, can't do phone time. That stinks. So don't let that cut into your schedule, because you're only hurting yourself when it comes down to that. So what we're gonna do is, I want everyone to kind of assess your life right now. We're not gonna have a lot of time to do this now, but we're gonna go through certain things. So what areas do you need more balance? Are you working too much? Schedule some fun into your schedule. I find it's really important to have things to look forward to, especially like when you're really, really busy. Are you not working enough? Schedule phone time into your schedule. Schedule events. So achieving balance allows us to reach our goals and our purpose in life while creating less stress to do so. So you should be setting goals in every area of your life. Set long-term and short-term goals. And be specific. So don't say, oh, I want to buy a house one day. When do you want to buy the house by? What year? What kind of house do you want? And I'm sure a lot of you have seen this before. Zig Ziglar's Wheel of Life. But just to go through them real quick, we have personal and social, which is the first one. So this includes who you spend your time with, as well as the things you spend your personal time doing. So are you surrounding yourself with people who make you better? For work and career, are you where you want to be at work? Do you have goals set for the year, for the campaign, for the month, for the week? Do you track where your sales come from? So for me, I'm a numbers person. So I break down my booth sales, my service calls, where all those come from, whether they're past customers, referrals, if they're from the booth. I track my demos, if you do virtual demos, if you do CGC and business gift sales, phone orders, web portal orders. So what's nice about this is I can look back for the whole year and see what I sold in each group. And then I can look back to the year before that and see where I increased and see if I decreased anywhere. So last year I definitely decreased in service calls sales because I just didn't do as many, but my average order went up. So that's important to kind of see where you're getting better, and then if you're working less, I think that's great, that if you can increase your averages for your sales. And do you have someone to hold you accountable? Right? Do you have a mentor? Right? Talk to your manager. An accountability partner. So Alicia, Andrew, and I always spoke once a week last year. And that was really helpful. Even the weeks that we weren't working, and it's just to kind of check in. And we didn't always talk about work the whole time, but it was good just to have someone to talk to and know that you're gonna talk to them every single week. So if you don't have your schedule planned, you're kind of gonna kick yourself to get that done. And then family. Do you spend time nurturing your family relationships? A lot of times we'll take family for granted because they're always there, but make sure that you're scheduling time with them. If they live far away, schedule FaceTime calls. Spiritual. Do you make time to study and grow spiritually? Financial. How well are you doing to meet your monthly and yearly budget? Are you saving? Are you investing? Do you even have a budget or a plan to save? If you don't, put that on your to-do list. Mind and intellect. Do you read books? Learn new things, study to improve your knowledge, and develop yourself personally and keep your mind strong. I'd say everyone here does that if you're at the NET meeting. Physical health. Do you have a healthy lifestyle? Do you exercise regularly? Eat healthy? So at some point, you want to rate yourself in each category. And this will give you an idea of what you need to focus on first. Right, so if you have a lot of 8s in one category and then there's like a 3 or 4 in another 1 or 2, those are probably the ones you should focus on first. So be willing to take the risk to assess yourself. If you're not focusing on these different things, you won't be able to change them to get them to where you want to be. So make time each day to reassess where you're at. And don't feel that your decisions are made in concrete. If something feels that it isn't working, be willing to look at a new decision. And just make sure you make time for yourself every day.